How's it going, my RWBY friends? I see ya. I just finished watching RWBY Volume 6, Chapter 7, and holy smokes, there's a lot to talk about with this chapter titled The Grimm Reaper. We had some theories that were confirmed, some that were disproven. We had little Easter eggs. I'm going to discuss all this and what it means for the future of the show. I can't wait to read your comments down below as well about this freaking awesome chapter. It's only 16 minutes long, but it was freaking epic. We had action. We had a little bit of romance. We had like a little bit of everything. Some backstory. All in all, an amazing chapter. And I can't wait to talk about my favorite moments, show you guys some of my favorite moments from the chapter as well. But before we get into all that, just a really brief message. You guys are going to love this. Just watch. But before we get into the rest of the video, let me give a huge shout out to Amino Apps for sponsoring this content. What is Amino Apps? Well, you probably already know, but if you don't know, Amino Apps is a gateway to wonderful communities all over the internet. Communities like RWBY, Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia. Let's talk about the wonderful RWBY Amino app. On RWBY Amino, you can find things like amazing fan art, role-playing communities, theories, old theories, new theories, some of the latest theories from the most recent chapter. Have you ever seen a chapter of RWBY and thought to yourself, I really wish I could talk about all that crazy stuff that just happened with somebody else? If you have, definitely consider joining RWBY Amino. And if you're so inclined, you can even go follow me on there. That'd be much appreciated. Actually, I'm putting up a poll right now on whether you think Crow will make it to the end of the volume. So definitely consider joining and voting on my poll on RWBY Amino, as well as enjoying all those other awesome benefits that are on there as well. Just go ahead, hop on RWBY Amino, type in HeroHei, follow me, send me a chat, tell me what's up. Download links in the description and also in the pinned comment in the comment section. Take a look and I'll see you there. Okay, my RWBY friends, I hope you enjoyed that. Now let's get into the official review. So I want to mention pretty much in chronological order what happened. So we opened up with the RWBY Rewind scene featuring Neo and Cinder. If you saw the RWBY Rewind clip, this was not really a surprise except the second half of this scene, which was indeed some new stuff. But I'll go over the old stuff anyways. So it's interesting how the vault is sealed. It seems like the portal is just gone. The original door is not there anymore, but the portal itself is gone. So perhaps when the relic is taken, the portal disappears after a set amount of time. We know it didn't disappear right away because when Yang took the relic out of the portal was still open for a while. Maybe once the relic is literally physically gone from the vault, the portal will close up or something. Could be, but it's just going to be speculation. We really don't know for sure how this works. The only one that probably does is Ozpin. The headmasters might not even know how this really works, but just an interesting thing to take note of. But let's talk about Cinder. Let's talk about Cinder. So actually I made I thought it was kind of a funny tweet on Cinder earlier. If you are not following me on Twitter, definitely consider following me on Twitter. I'll put the thing here. You can follow me with that. Cinder is just such a funny character. I don't know, something about her, man. Here we have her going against Salem's orders once again. She clearly doesn't really respect Salem at all. Maybe she doesn't even really like Salem. Maybe she's just using Salem for power. We had Cinder going against Salem's orders back with the Bronwyn tribe thing. We had her going against orders with the whole Haven, the way the Haven fight went down. We now have her going against Salem's orders with keeping RWBY alive. She's trying to have Neo work around. It's like the little kid who's trying to not disobey the parents, but trying to go through the loopholes, right? It's just hilarious to me. She's trying to have Neo beat RWBY, ex-RWBY off because Salem doesn't want her to do it. Obviously, Salem wants RWBY alive. She's even said that in Volume 4 when she told Tyrian to bring RWBY back alive. So it really makes sense now why Cinder wants to work with Neo even more, because this would help her get through this loophole. But obviously that's not how it's gonna work. Salem would still be very upset. Maybe she's thinking Salem won't even know that they work together. They'll travel together to Argus and then they'll split ways and Neo will just kind of ex-RWBY off on her own. That's probably what Cinder's thinking, but she must really think Salem is a fool if she's not gonna find out, or if she's just gonna believe all this. And I'm sure Neo is still gonna backstab Cinder, by the way. There's no way Neo just suddenly doesn't want to X off Cinder anymore when this whole time she's been hunting her down and tried to do it already. So Neo's just looking for an opportune moment to backstab Cinder. And actually, it's pretty cool because we get a parallel here with Neo and Cinder shaking hands. It's just like when Cinder and Raven shook hands at the Bronwyn camp. Totally a farce, right? They weren't really allying. They both had their own agenda. Raven had her own plan for this. And I'm sure Neo is kind of mirroring Raven here. Neo has her own plan for this. It's just a false agreement, basically. Honor amongst thieves, yeah, I don't know about that one. Just the same, these aren't really thieves anyways, they're kind of a lot more than that. So that covers the rewind scene. Let's get into the next scene, the Grimm Reaper fight. So Rooster Teeth did something super interesting with this scene. They actually released a big chunk of this clip a few days ago on social media, on Twitter, and then it like linked to some magazine article about it, and then they also put it up on YouTube. If you had the link, it was up on there. So anyone could see this stuff, and besides RWBY Rewind, I think this is the only time that RT has actually released like a clip like that. You know, maybe that's not true. I do think they've released a few clips actually. Maybe like, I remember the first chapter, they showed like RWBY kind of speeding through there and it wasn't rewind, but that was usually like little tiny clips on like Twitter and stuff. This was like a full minute or a minute and a half clip that they released. So I do think it's the most like fleshed out one they've ever done in that respect. An awesome fight. Maria's design is freaking amazing. The gravity weapon's very unique. Like, we don't really see gravity dust used a lot in the show. Most of the time we see it's Weiss just using it to like hold something down. So this was amazing to see gravity dust used in the weapons. It was sick how they also combined it into a two-handed weapon, and her fighting style using that dust as well. When she like maneuvered the freaking weapons around, like she's like dude, it was the sickest thing. It was honestly one of the sickest designs we've seen in the entire show. Now, I'm gonna have a little nitpick with this, to be honest. She did all this cool stuff against the Nevermore, and she didn't even beat it. She resorted to using her Silver Eyes against the Nevermore, and that was really disappointing to me, honestly. Like, you have Maria with this awesome design, these awesome weapons, this awesome fighting style, but then the Nevermore really, like, freaking, you see the Nevermore getting slashed and crashing into walls, crashing into the floor, but then it gets up like it's fine, like it didn't even take damage, and she's forced to use her Silver Eyes on it. This is a person who is supposed to be a legendary warrior who we see is very skilled and has awesome weapons. So, like, it was just disappointing for me to see the Nevermore get finished off with the Silver Eyes, and all that work she put into beating it without the Silver Eyes was pretty much for nothing. Now, I talked in Discord with some people there in my Discord. Link down below, description. Join it, by the way. It's open to the public. And someone did mention that from a writing standpoint, this made sense because we needed to see her Silver Eyes. I completely disagree. We already knew that she was a Silver-Eyed warrior. She already revealed this to us. So we really didn't need to see her use her Silver Eyes. What we didn't know is that she was a freaking awesome huntress named the Grimm Reaper, who's like a legend that people took inspiration from, that Crow even took inspiration from with his weapon rather. So I would have preferred to have just seen that. Like, we already knew she was a Silver-Eyed warrior. We already know Silver Eyes are OP, but if she's such a legendary warrior, let's just see her fighting like a legendary warrior would, not having to rely on freaking Silver Eyes. Like, she did all this cool stuff and it was all for naught, sadly. The Bandit fight, though, was really cool. So I did make a theory, I think, in my review last week, where I talked about the possibilities for how she lost her eyes. And one of those were that perhaps bandits just caught her and, like, took her eyes out. And I thought that theory was actually coming true this chapter, except then the TikTok girl, awesome reference, by the way, she said that, like, the only reason her master wants her X'd off is because her Silver Eyes. So that's probably Salem. So they were probably like some of Salem's older crew before she had Team Witch, because we know this was a younger Maria. I don't know how old Maria is. I'd probably say between 60 and 90 years old, anywhere between there. Like, 60's on the low end, but she was a fighter for a long time. Her body might not be in great shape. You know, she's been through a lot, so she could be in her 60s. Probably somewhere between 60 and 90, in my opinion. And the Great War ended about 80 to 100 years ago. The academies were made about then, so she might have been one of the first huntresses from any academy. But I'll get into that in just a moment. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But I want to finish off on the TikTok thing because that was part of the scene. So I thought, you know, TikTok was like a Peter Pan reference to the crocodile dude who like swallowed a clock. I thought the girl's semblance was actually kind of cool. I didn't really like her design because it was gross, and I don't like what she did to Maria. But I will admit, it's a pretty cool semblance. We don't know exactly how it works, but reasonably assume that for 60 seconds, she can just buff up all her stats. More speed, more strength, like just more agility, like just a big buff for 60 seconds. So she keeps the timer so she knows how much time she has left on her buff. And that's why she barely beat Maria in time for that. It was definitely a cool little reference and a cool use of that semblance in my opinion. I thought pretty cool character. But really, Maria was by far the coolest one. Now, anyways, back to the Maria stuff. So the next scene was RWBY and Co. traveling. And this is where I want to talk about the academy system in Maria. Because if nobody knew her name and she apparently never showed her face, she probably never signed up in an academy because they would know what she looks like and they would know her name. Most likely, right? So we can assume she never signed up in an academy, which makes this much more impressive. What do you get from joining an academy? Well, you get to make your own weapon. You get to learn training, like styles, how to fight, how to defend yourself. You get to unlock your aura. You get to unlock your semblance. So Maria never went to an academy. She's very naturally gifted, and it makes her even more impressive, in my opinion. That said, we don't know what her semblance is. Maybe she never unlocked her semblance, but we know that she definitely unlocked her aura because we saw it flicker and dissipate during the fight scene with the bandits. So it's just pretty cool. She probably never signed up for an academy and was just that good. We talked about how Crow looked up to her. That's freaking awesome. Took inspiration from her weapons for his scythe. And then indirectly, RWBY kind of got inspired by Maria because she took inspiration from Crow's weapon. So it's just pretty cool how that came full circle around there. It's interesting how Maria jabs at Crow, calling her and him a disappointment. She's like, when Crow was kind of fanboying over her, he's like, wow, you're the Grim Reaper? Like, I looked up to you. Like, I've tried to aspire to be like you. Maria's just straight up like, well, since I'm a big disappointment, you are, you're doing a good job following my steps. Because, like Maria said last chapter already, she called him like an idiot. He was drunk. She's like, what are you doing? All this stuff. So it's pretty funny there. Now, the thing I didn't like was Maria stroking Yang's ego. Like, Yang needs to stop having her ego stroked. This is one of her big problems. Like, what do I mean? The little part when Maria turned around and was like, and some of you are already stronger than I was, looks at Yang like, dude, Yang, come on. Like, she needs to accept that she's not as strong as she thinks she is. That's how you get better. You face reality. Like, she's not as strong as she thinks she is. She's taken L's. She's in a horrible mindset. Like, if you want her to get better, you need her to accept that she's not as strong as she would like to think, because then she can finally get as strong as she would like to think. You need to face reality sometimes, and that's how you make yourself better. You don't make yourself better by having people lie to you. Like, I don't know, man. I'm just worried for Yang. It's been almost half the volume now. Actually, it is definitely the halfway point. This is a 14-chapter volume. We're on episode 7 now. So halfway through the volume, and Yang has just been going down and down and down, and it's not looking like it's going to improve anytime soon based off this. So hopefully Yang will start to get some love. Like, I don't mean people stroking her ego and just kissing up to her. I mean, literally, we'll see her face reality and start training and putting in work to better herself so she can protect the people she cares about and see that she is open to working on a team. She's on a team. She likes to think that she's the leader or something. Like, she's the one who's protecting everybody. Like, dude, Yang, you have more L's than most people on that team. You really have lost, pretty much you've lost more fights than you've been in. You've lost more than half the fights you've been in, Yang. So you gotta chill out and just, that's enough about the Yang stuff, right? So it's cool. RWBY finally asked about her silver eyes. That's something a lot of people have wished for her to do for a long time. Here we finally have RWBY asking Maria if she can train her to use her silver eyes. So that was a cool little thing to get. And then the design with the silver eyes. We saw Maria's silver eyes for a moment before the unfortunate thing that occurred to them. And they seem to have like these two lines, like on like here and here, that like the eyes themselves have like two lines or highlights, and so do RWBY's. So this might be the best way to identify silver-eyed warriors now, because sometimes it's confusing because you have characters like Mercury whose eyes seem gray, or like Neo's when her eyes turned like silver, white, grayish. So it seems like the silver-eyed warriors will always have these specific like 4 lines, like 2 and 2 under their eyes. So keep an eye out for that. Just something to take note of. And then the crew arrives to Argus. So Argus was pretty cool. Let me take a sip of coffee though. All right, Argus was pretty cool. For those of you that know what San Francisco's like, if you've ever been there or seen what it looks like, Argus definitely has inspiration from San Francisco. The architecture, the hills, the trolleys, and the culture itself. So that was kind of cool to see. It's always cool when the show takes inspirations or gives little Easter eggs to certain things, like the Peter Pan thing this chapter, the San Francisco thing this chapter, and then we even had a call back to like Volume 1 this chapter with RWBY calling Jean Vomit Boy in her scroll, not her bone, in her scroll. That's pretty hilarious. After all this time, she still kept that. So that was pretty awesome. And we finally got to meet one of Jean's sisters named Saffron. Don't know if there's any relevance to that name. And her wife, Terracotta Warrior. I don't know. I don't really know the references for those two, to be honest. If any of you guys know what that really means, like comment below and I'll take a look. So this is good representation. I'm sure a lot of people are happy with this. That's, you know, it's cool to see. We were told that there were going to be more LGBT people in the show, so here is 2 more. So that's pretty dope. And I didn't expect one of them to be Jean's sisters. I don't think anyone really did. We don't really think about his sisters a lot. Like, we do think about them in the sense that he has 7 and the story tells us that, so they must be important at some point. But, like, this came out of nowhere. So it was cool to see. Let me take a sip. Alright. So, apparently she's like, Terracotta's like some tech, and they're blaming her for the things not working and all that. It's just some nonsense. But anyways, at the ending of the chapter, well, I guess we can talk about the cute expressions too, like RWBY and freaking Yang and Weiss, like very cute expressions. The kids in this show though, like have huge heads. It's kind of weird. Like they're like looking like bobblehead characters or something. I don't know what's up with that. Anyways, so at the ending we have Junior. You know, let's talk about the sisters a little bit more actually. The photo was kind of funny of them too. The 7 sisters and Jean. I gotta recount that actually. Is there 8? Is that a mom or a sister in the photo? I gotta recount it. I don't have the photo pulled up here. Yeah, I'll have to recount that really quick. It might be the older sister and not even the mom there. I think that's probably what it is, but I don't know. I'll have to look at the photo again. I'll put the photo up here with, like, when I'm editing and putting the review out, but I don't have it like on hand, so oh well. But it's definitely a cool little callback, and it's funny to see like all their personalities. Like some of them are wild, some of them are adventurous. Jean's just like help, and then you have the like studious sister in the front with the glasses on and all that. So just kind of cool. Maybe take note of these different personalities that they have and all that. Anyways, so the ending scene, Jean says that they already tried to get into the military base, and that would clearly just mean like Jean, Nora, and Ren, unless the sister came along or something. Jean, Nora, and Ren tried to get into the military base, and they say it didn't go well. And then we see a scene with Team RWBY trying to get there, and it's just like the doors just close on them. I feel like they didn't actually go down there, and it's just like a joke. Like it's a little like comedic relief or whatever. Because why would Team RWBY go there alone without like Oscar and Crow? Especially Crow. Like it would be, I would say especially Oscar if Ozpin was able to take over, but you can't just have Ozpin like talking to military people anyways. They don't know what the heck they don't know about all that Ozpin stuff, right? So Crow would really have to be the one to go there and get in touch with Ironwood. So I just don't find it very likely that Team RWBY would try to get into the base alone without Crow, unless Crow went to a different part of Argus where he knew there was like a higher up official that was outside the military base and he was talking to him or something, or maybe he's trying to get a hold of Ironwood. But it does still make me feel like it's a comedic relief scene or a joke scene, though just the way it like cut to RWBY at the gates. You don't see anyone else, like no soldiers or anything, the gates just close. So I don't know, maybe that really happened or maybe it didn't happen. We'll find out. But before we close out with the review, guys, let's talk about Neo and Cinder really quick. So Neo and Cinder are really going to have to pull some interesting strings here. Team RWBY is already in Argus now. And to be honest, Neo and Cinder might be there as well. I don't know. Maybe they're not there yet. It's hard to say because they were behind. Like if we recap the timing, right? So originally, Team RWBY was like the events of Team RWBY leaving for Argus was like 2 weeks after the Haven battle. And the Cinder arc started a month after the Haven battle, but then Cinder waited a week to get the information from Little Miss Malachite, so that would put Cinder there. It would put it from a 2-week difference between the two groups to a 3-week difference between the two groups. So, how long was Team RWBY like actually traveling through the wilderness after the ranch and stuff? It seemed pretty instant, right? Like they got there the next day or something. So, it's just timing is really complicated. Like I'm curious if Cinder and Neo are just gonna be at Argus out of nowhere, or if they're already there and they got there really quick. Like somebody in my comment section posted that, hey, like my name, hey, like, hey, you're forgetting that Cinder can fly. And I'm like, I'm not forgetting that. Like, first of all, she hasn't been able to really show that she can fly. It's more like levitate and hover. And second of all, even if she can fly, what are you implying? Like she's gonna grab Neo and freaking fly with her to Argus? Like, sounds pretty ridiculous to me. I mean, maybe that's what she's gonna do, but I've never seen her fly to that extent where she can just fly across the continent. That's pretty hilarious too. Just imagine her holding Neo. I mean, Neo's small enough that Cinder could actually like hold her in her arms, but bruh, like the only time we saw Cinder fly was like with the freaking fire jets, like up to Raven, like hover a little bit at Beacon with them, and then like hover with the air that she manipulated with her maiden powers this volume. So 2 times it was just hovering a little bit. One time she did kind of fly up, but she was more propelling herself. Like, so it wasn't like just straight up flying a long distance. She just propelled herself up to where Raven was. And if maidens can, well, I guess Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know. Maybe we'll see that happen, but it seems like a far-fetched idea to me. So how do you guys think Cinder and Neo are going to get to Argus? And do you think they're there already? And how do you think it's going to go down? Like Cinder and Neo versus Team RWBY and Junior and Crow and the freaking military. Like, dude, they're going to have, it's going to be a stretch if Neo's going to just like try to assassinate RWBY. But I'm sure she's going to backstab Cinder. So it's just interesting how this is all going to go down. It's so complicated between the timing and the location that they're at now for some fight like this to happen. Like, or maybe when RWBY tries to get to Argus, that's when they'll strike. Like maybe they'll get a boat. That's actually not a bad idea. You get like a boat and you wait in the ocean, and then when you see RWBY flying over, you shoot him down. But how would they even know it's them? And like, it's just such a stretch, right? So I don't know how it's gonna go down, but it's interesting to think about, guys. Anyways, I got my live stream coming up in about 2 hours. I'm gonna start getting ready for that live stream review. Hopefully I can get this video up before then, so I'm gonna end this here before it's too long and it takes forever to process. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, turn on notifications, because unfortunately the good old days of YouTube is over, guys. Subscribing alone doesn't really do much. You gotta turn on that bell as well for you to actually get notified when my videos go live. Like the old YouTube, when you were subscribed, it would do that, but not anymore. Also, if you wanna do a little bit more even to support this channel, consider sponsoring via Patreon or donating one time via Streamlabs, link down below. Much appreciated. You get access to my reactions early over on Patreon and plenty of other cool rewards as well that you might enjoy. With that said, guys, I'm gonna end this and get to the stream. I'll catch you next time.